Last episode, I lost my voice. Let's hope I sound a little better today. Hello, welcome back to P-Storm. I am Pluvius Lilon, and today we're playing Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations. And we left off in the middle of the first trial of episode 3, but, hopefully we're gonna finish it this episode. So, court will now reconvene for the trial of Maggie Bird. Yeah, I ended the episode in the middle of a recess, so... Mr. Godot, your next witness, please. The prosecution calls the lucky old-timer who caught the show over a cup of coffee. Will the witness please take the stand? Name and occupation, if you don't mind. The name's Victor Kudo. Born and bred in the land of the rising sun. Honor and duty are what make me. Mind you, I can be quite emotional at times, too. We don't need to hear about that, Mr. Kudo. Just tell the court your occupation. My occupation? Ka. Listen, young'un. How much call do you think there really is for kimono embroidery here? Kimono embroidery? That's what I do, or did back in Japan. I embroidered family crests on kimonos. My ancestors were embroidering kimonos before this country even existed.
Wow, a real craftsman. They're a dying breed. Hey, maybe he should embroider my costume sometime.
Anyway, like I said, there's not much demand for that kind of thing here. So I had to take a job working the cash register at a burger joint, pretending to smile. That burger joint would have been better off putting him in the kitchen. Now then, witness, were you in the restaurant at the time of the incident? Oh, yes. I was eating some seeds over a cup of Javachino. Seeds? What do you think these are, I see. So you saw everything that happened, Gramps? Did I? Oh, yes. Oh, yes I did. I saw it all. Then please, tell the court. We're all ears. Sure. I'll tell you. I'll tell you every last detail. He's really getting into this. The young man was reading the sports paper. The serving girl brought him a Javachino, but she put something in it. The man took one sip of it, looked like he was in terrible pain, and then collapsed. That's the serving girl right there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well. Mr. Kudo, she is not a serving girl. Please refer to her as a waitress. Gah, you're as bad as the rest of them. All these newfangled words. What's wrong with old-fashioned ones, You woke-ass... All this talk of radios and glasses and gender and diversity. It's wireless and spectacles, I tell you. Excuse me. Listen to me, everyone. Don't forget the old values. Don't let the good old days slip away. Well, I think it's time to begin the cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. So you saw the victim, then? You saw Mr. Glenn Elg? I wanted to know if Guts and Brawn retained his championship or not. So he's looking at the sports paper the victim was reading, huh? And at the location in question, there are partitions between tables on the same side of the restaurant, right? So what if there are? If you say that you could not see if you say that you could see the victim, that means you were sitting at a table on the other side of the restaurant, correct? Gah. I go to that place to drink Javachino. I don't go to sit. I don't remember which table I was sitting at. You mean you go there to eye the waitress? Mr. Kudo, That's a very grave accusation. Are you sure about what you saw? Victor Kudo never makes mistakes. I cross every T and... I dot every T and cross every I. I see. My eyesight's fine. The doctor said I only need spectacles for reading and driving. I bet his eyes are only really fine when he's scoping out a waitress. And I saw what the serving girl put into the Javachino as well. I bet I know what's coming up, and something tells me I'm not gonna like it. Your Honor, we need more clarification on what was put into the victim's coffee. I'd like to ask what the waitress... I'd like to ask that the witness add what he knows to this, knows about this to his testimony.
I agree. Witness, will you enlighten us, please?
Sure. There's no question about it. She very conspicuously put some white powder in there. Did she really put that into the coffee? You doubt me, boy? She took out a small brown bottle and sprinkled it in. Couldn't she have been adding sugar?
Sugar in a small brown bottle like that? Like that? Witness, could you please describe the bottle in more concrete terms?
Huh. A bottle like this, perhaps.
Oh, there it is. That's the one. That's the bottle of potassium cyanide, I presume.
So what did the accused put in the coffee? I think it's clear, don't you? He took just one sip?
You young'uns, you waste everything. Those Javachinos cost $8. In the good old days, we would have drank every last drop, eaten the cup, and then died.
Congratulations. You've earned the title of battiest man to grace a courtroom. So it was an immediate death. Well, with potassium cyanide, I suppose that is possible.
Oh yes, he slumped over that so much as a twitch.
I felt the Javachino I'd just drank turned sour in my stomach. Oh yes, I know that feeling.
But the waitress? I presume she is...
You said I remember her well in reference to the waitress. Did she have any particular features that you can identify her by?
Particular features? It's a disgrace is what it is.
Sorry?
You can see all the way up to her, you know. She's practically naked in that uniform.
So the particular feature you recognize about the waitress is her outfit? But anyone could wear just such a uniform, even me.
Mr. Wright, please spare the court of any further mental anguish from that image.
Don't get all excited, Nick. You gotta keep yourself together.
I guess I got a bit carried away.
Gah. There are other things I recognize about her, too.
He seems pretty sure of himself. What should I do? Sure, you saw a waitress take the coffee over to the victim. But what matters is whether that waitress was Maggie Bird or not.
Quite right. Mr. Kudo, these other features that you recognize about the defendant, I would ask that you add them to your testimony.
Sure. There was a ribbon in her hair, and her apron straps were loose. You do seem to remember several details about her appearance. But what about the most crucial detail of all, her face?
Gah, as if I wouldn't remember that.
Objection!
The witness noticed the straps on the accused's apron. He's unlikely to make a mistake about her face. That's right. I can even tell you the color of the ribbon in her hair. It was red. So you see, there's nothing wrong with the witness's eyesight. There's no doubt he remembers the waitress pretty well. What should I do? I get the feeling there's something more to this somehow. Mr. Kudo, you seem especially interested in straps. Why is that?
What?
The ribbon in her hair, the straps on her apron. What's the fascination?
Fascination?
People have all kinds of fetishes, Trite. We don't need to embarrass the witness.
Listen, you young upstarts. I haven't got some sick strap fetish. Is there any relevance to the witness's unusual love of straps, Mr. Wright?
I was just curious as to why he was so fixated on the waitress's straps.
I said I haven't got a strap fetish. How many times do I have to repeat myself? Very well. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Kudo, and make it strapless.
Do you think old CD really saw Maggie do it?
Well, he probably had his eye on the waitress the whole time, so that's why he was there.
But he was there for the cute outfits, right? Not the waitress.
I guess. She makes a good point, though.
Hey, did I just say something clever?
I wonder if the waitress Mr. Kudo saw really was Maggie.
That's what we have to figure out, Nick.
Let's ask about the ribbon now. Or her back, rather. The identifying features you described are all things you would see from the back.
So what?
Is it possible that you never saw the waitress from the front at all?
Objection!
Huh. He's got you there, Gramps. People normally talk about facial features when they're asked to describe someone. But this witness's testimony is nothing but straps and ribbons.
This is harassment. I tell you, I'm not obsessed with straps or ribbons. I'm just telling you what I saw. Mr. Kudo, the court requests that you add details about any identifying features. Features you observed from the front, that is, to your testimony.
This old man's testimony is getting longer and longer.
And if I can't find a hole in it soon, it'll get even longer, I bet.
There wasn't anything that caught my interest about her when I saw her from the front.
Is that right? Nothing at all, you say? Mr. Kudo, I'd like you to please take a look at this.
Gah, that filthy thing would suit filth like you just perfectly. Actually, it reminds me what my grandson looks like just after he's done eating.
Have you ever seen this before?
Of course I haven't. Do you think I'd forget something as dirty as that? Well, you half-witted clot. What? What is it? Ever since I said, you half-witted clot, there's been eerie silence in here.
Mr. Kudo, this apron is the apron worn by the defendant on the day of the poisoning. And as you just said yourself, you wouldn't forget something like this. Which means, if you had really seen this apron before... Yes, you know what I'm getting at. You couldn't have possibly seen the waitress from the front.
Oops. Witness, you can't just oops your way out of this.
Huh. Well, well. Looks like we finally have a genuine trial on our hands.
Listen, Trite, here are the facts. On the day of the incident, there was only one waitress in the restaurant. That being the defendant, Miss Maggie Bird.
Exactly. When that one witness put the poison into the coffee cup, or when that one waitress put the poison into the coffee cup, this old guy was watching.
I hope you understand the gravity of this situation, Mr. Kudo. The fate of the defendant may rest on what you remember seeing.
Just tell the court exactly what you saw, Gramps.
You can rely on me, Captain. My noggin's in perfect working order. I can't remember a single occasion when I forgot what a burger a customer wanted.
He can't remember? Probably more like he messed up so many times he's blocking it out.
Very well. Let's test just how good your memory and attention to detail is, Mr. Kudo. Tell us what you remember about the victim. He was another one of those pesky young types wearing a broken pair of spectacles. He had a newspaper in his right hand, and the noisy brat just kept rustling its pages. The young man was listening to the wireless. I remember that well. Then the serving girl in question brought over the Javachino. Little Fidget picked up the cup with his free hand and took a sip. The testimony we've just heard was to test how credible this witness's memory is. Seems to me that he remembers the victim in a great deal of detail. Oh yes, I hate those you-know-what types who are so vague about everything.
How are we gonna handle this, Nick?
We only need to do one thing. We need to prove that the old man's memory is shot.
Just trip him up, you mean? Isn't that kind of cool?
I suppose, but it's what I do best. Spectacles. Dark glasses to you. One of the lenses was green, but the other was broken. Newfangled rubbish. That's why I remember him so well. He did have some kind of lens over his left eye, but I wouldn't have called it a pair of glasses.
He seems to have been wearing some rather modern-looking shades. Perhaps I should take to wearing some and rival Mr. Godot's sharp appearance.
We better come up with something sharp and quick.
Guess I'll wait and see if I should challenge him about his spectacles. The newspaper was a sports paper, was it?
That young hooligan. I nearly asked him, can't you even read without fidgeting? How was I supposed to be able to read the back page with all that rustling going on? I had to find out if Guts and Brawn retained his championship title.
It was his paper, not yours. If you wanted to know so bad, why didn't you buy your own?
What are you looking at me like that for, Ow! Ow!
Guts and Brawn got beaten yesterday, by the way. Anyway.
The wireless?
The decadent young rascal. In my day, it was one or the other. Read the paper or listen to the wireless.
Oh boy.
I'm using an earpiece. It's selfish, that's what it is. I was straining my ears, but I couldn't catch any of it.
Was he that desperate to listen to the radio?
What are you looking at me like that for, How dare you feel sorry for me? Ow!
You mean the waitress who you only saw from behind, right?
You're one of those, are you? You never let anything go, isn't that right?
Maybe.
What does it matter if I saw her from the front or from behind? My eyes don't lie. Ow!
I better not push it until I've got some hard evidence. His free hand?
Yes.
Which hand was that?
Weren't you listening before, cloth ears? I said he was rustling the newspaper with his right hand, didn't I? If his free hand wasn't his right hand, which do you think it was, you moron? Ha! Perhaps the great Mr. Trite has 3 hands.
Yeesh, I was only asking. Knowing to gang up on me and treat me like a freak. The whole point of this cross-examination is to establish just one thing. That this old guy's memory has more holes than a slice of Swiss.
I guess we just need to find a contradiction in his testimony somewhere, huh?
Anything will do. Even the smallest detail. We just need one mistake and he's ours. Yeah, okay, let me see here. So supposedly he was using his left hand to drink the coffee, but
Yeah, the coffee stain is on the left side from the handle, which suggests he was drinking with his right hand. Mr. Kudo, do you remember what you were told at the start of this testimony? This was a way of testing the credibility of your memory.
I know. There's nothing wrong with my memory, I tell you. Nothing. If I got anything wrong, I'll eat these seeds and sing the pigeon song.
Care to tell us where this is going, Wright? According to Mr. Kudo, the victim was holding the paper in his right hand, while drinking coffee with his free hand, which would make that his left.
Cuh, what is this, kindergarten?
But I'd like the court to please look at this.
That's the cup the victim used, correct?
Yes, and on the rim, you'll notice the mark left by the victim's lips.
Yes, there is a stain left by the coffee.
If you consider where that stain is, you'll clearly see that the victim was holding the cup in his right hand.
But how?
Well, Mr. Kudo, the court's waiting for your epic performance. You said you'd eat those seeds and sing the pigeon song.
Mr. Kudo, I'm afraid this is simply not acceptable. I think the witness had better go back to the park where... Wait! If you think I'm just gonna stand here and listen to you tell me I'm mad, you're wrong. I don't care about that dirty coffee cup. I know what I saw. You still insist on your testimony? That young brat was holding the cup in his left hand. Oh yes, no question. I'm a good, law-abiding citizen, I am. It's that dead young hotbot and you spiky-haired yahoo who are at fault.
I remember Hotbot. I mean, there's no way that's not a reference, because he also mentions Yahoo, another search engine that, came about at the same time as Hotbot, but, I think, shit, does Hotbot still exist? I'll look this up now. Does Hotbot still exist? Okay, Hotbot is a Canadian web search engine owned by Hotbot Limited, whose key principal is Kristen Richardson, according to the website itself. Okay, I don't care about any of that. Current status, working. What the fuck? Hotbot.com. What the Okay, let's ask Hotbot a question. How is Hotbot still around? No, never mind. Alright. We're getting off track here. Who, me?
Thank you, old man. We've heard quite enough from you already. Like a bunch of rain frogs just discovered that Hotbot exists. Don't call me old man, old man. Been around for 68 years, I have. You can't ignore me. Listen to what I've got to say. I'm sorry, Mr. Kudo, but...
Sure. Why not hear a little more?
Mr. Kudo!
But this is my 16th cup of coffee. So this is your final stand.
Thank you, Captain. But you can rely on Victor. The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs. He kept fiddling with it all the time. He was fiddling with it just before he picked up the cup, too. And then he used the same hand to pick up the cup, his left hand. We know that the victim was wearing an unusual monocle over his left eye.
It wasn't a monocle, Your Honor. It was a small computer monitor often used by programmers.
A monitor? You mean like a television screen?
The inside of the lens is a screen that displays computer data. It's called a scouter. It's a common tool in the victim's line of work.
HDTV, DVD, CD, all these newfangled letters drive me mad, but they don't matter. I know what I saw, and I'm telling the truth.
It's true. He doesn't seem to be lying.
And those are the facts, in good old black and white. So the victim was wearing a HMD. HMD, or HDTV, CD, DVD, what does it matter? It was none of them, actually, but anyway. And you're sure he was wearing the earpiece on the same side? No question. I could only see that side of his head from where I was sitting. Yeah, that's pretty obvious if you look at the floor plans. From the opposite table, he'd only have a view of the side of the victim's head. It seems you kept an eye on Mr. Glenn Elg. He was getting on my nerves. Rustling that newspaper and fiddling with his earpiece all the time. Then he went and made all that fuss dying from one sip of Javachino. I wanted to say to him, calm down, you young brat. Just looking at it made me suddenly speed up my seed eating. I could have choked. So I take it the victim was a walking ball of nervous energy. The earpiece you mentioned, which hand did the victim touch it with? You're one of those people, aren't you? You're the type that uses your left hand to get things out of your right pocket. Or fasten your left cuff with your right hand. When the tour guide says on your right side, you'll see the famous blah blah. You're the only one who deliberately looks left. Well, aren't you? No, I didn't mean... Obviously he used the hand on the same side of his body that the earpiece was in. Ow! So if he had the HMD on his left side, then it was his left hand, I guess. You seem very sure of yourself, Mr. Kudo. That's because I know what I saw, no matter what tricks you try to play on me. Looks like he really did see the guy picking up the cup with his left hand. This is a dead end.
Well, Nick, what do you think?
I think the guy's telling the truth. But even so, something's not quite right.
Then chuck evidence at him until he breaks.
But if he's not lying, there wouldn't be any contradictions in his testimony, right? Alright, let me check this out. Okay, kept fiddling with it. He was fiddling with it just before he picked up the cup. So his testimony's only got 4 statements. Okay, let me try and... Oh, wait. Nope. Shit. I accidentally minimized the window. Because it looks like his left ear doesn't have the earpiece in it in that photo. There we go. I'm not sure what the relevance of this is, but... Mr. Kudo, there's something very strange about your observations of the victim. What? You say he was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the HMD. No question. You can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear, without a doubt. I could only see that side of his head from where I was sitting. I don't think so. What did you say? You're no doubt unaware of this fact, Mr. Kudo. But the victim couldn't hear with his left ear. His eardrum was ruptured. Huh? Traces of medication for his condition were found in his ear canal. That's right. It's impossible that the victim was wearing his earpiece in his left ear. Because he couldn't even hear in that ear. Is that true, Captain? It is. Pigeon. Pretty pigeon. Order! Order! This witness's testimony is completely unreliable. He only saw the waitress from behind. And he claims the victim was wearing an earpiece when we know his eardrum was ruptured. Well, Mr. Godot?
A single drop of milk is all it takes to destroy the pure black magic in the cup. This old man is my drop of milk. Captain, are you calling me a drip? This is the victim's coffee cup in which the potassium cyanide was found. The mark of the rim clearly shows that the victim picked it up with his right hand. I'll never back down. I know I'm right. The lad drank his Javachino with his left hand. Let me put you out of your misery. Clearly the victim used both hands. He took a sip with the cup held in his right hand, and switched to his left. That's what the old man saw. Impossible. The witness has already testified on numerous occasions that the victim died immediately after taking just one sip of the coffee. Which hand the victim used to pick up his cup is irrelevant, Your Honor. The facts still stand. With one hand or the other, Mr. L drank the poisoned coffee. Like this. Sadly, Mr. Godot, that doesn't wash. The point of this testimony was to establish whether the witness's testimony is credible. And the results are clear. The testimony given by this witness is useless. I believe it is time to conclude today's proceedings. I'm satisfied that the witness is not deceiving the court. But to be frank, his testimony is a farce. Did you have to be so frank? Take that, you pompous old fogey. I'm sorry, Mr. Kudo. You can't reach me from there. I'm ordering the defense and the prosecution to investigate this case further. That is all for now. This court is adjourned. Hold it! Wait! If we stop now, where does that leave me? Leave you, Mr. Kudo? Thanks to that blue-suited young upstart over there. I'm just a bumbling old man who can't even dot his T's or cross his I's now. How's your bad memory my fault? I'm sorry, Mr. Kudo, but there's nothing I can do. I've kept my mouth shut until now. But there's something else this court should know. What? There's more? To be perfectly honest, it might not be anything. But I want another chance. I want another crack at you, you young shark. Me? He's looking at me like I'm some sort of devil shogun. Well, everyone, what do you say to one final showdown? The final chapter in this eccentric old man's scrapbook. Sorry, Gramps. I've already had my 17th cup of coffee. What have you got to lose, Captain? I'll give you all the Javachino you want if you come to my house after the trial. I may be 68 years old, but Victor Kudo is still a man. That's enough, witness. I believe it will be quicker for the court to just hear your testimony. You bet. Much, much quicker.
I can't believe this is happening.
You better get ready, youngster.
I get the picture. Just quit throwing those seeds at me, would you? He's got to be using some sort of infinite ammo code with that box of seeds. Yeah, it's the bandana he's wearing. Or the... God, what's it called? Okay. No, I'll use Hotbot in honor of, in honor of the fact that it still exists. What is that headband that sushi chefs wear? I thought that was what it's called. It's his Hachimaki that's, giving him the infinite ammo. First of all, I want to stress that this might be nothing. I'm not too sure of myself. The young boy slumped over on the table as soon as he took one sip of his Javachino. Well, the clumsy idiot upset the vase. He knocked it right over. It broke and the strip of cloth covering the table got completely soaked. Well, how about that? Turn things upside down, Is that all? Yes, that's all. I remember it perfectly. Yeah, you're doubting me again? You're doubting a poor, defenseless old man? No, we're not doubting you, Mr. Kudo.
Don't you get the feeling there's a question hanging on everyone's lips, Nick?
Yeah, so what, probably. That's all I can think of. But I have to cross-examine this guy. You're a bird brain. That's why that's all you can think of. Very well. Mr. Wright, your final cross-examination, if you please. The court generally prefers if witnesses are sure of themselves, Mr. Kudo. Noisy brat. I'm warning you. I'm more savage than a macho man right now. Really dating yourself there? You won't beat me with this testimony. Ow! He's chucking those seeds harder than ever. That better be careful.
Come on, Nick, nail him.
The court's already heard that testimony, Mr. Kudo. I know that. I was just setting the mood. How else am I supposed to build up the suspense, The suspense? Yes. Now what do you think? Should I work the audience a bit more? No, please continue, Mr. Kudo. As quickly as possible. Alright, now where was I? Ah, yes. The young boy slumped over the table and... A vase, you say? Yes, there are vases on all the tables in that place. There are accidents waiting to happen. They're practically begging to be knocked over.
Well, he's right about there being vases. I do remember seeing them too. There was a vase on the table when I ate lunch there. And you saw the moment when the victim actually knocked over the vase?
Well, it's hard to say. It's a bit unclear. How do you really define...
Okay, I get it.
I heard it break, and the sight of it is burned into my memory as clear as day.
You know... Yeah, it's right there.
Mr. Kudo, this is a photograph of the crime scene. So what?
Look carefully at the table. The vase is there, intact.
Huh?
Lost your tongue,
Granddad? I'm no granddad of yours, Hopscotch. Ow! Enough. My ship sails in the morning. If you throw any more seeds in this courtroom...
I couldn't read the rest of that.
What is it now? I just remembered something.
Yes, go on.
The broken vase. It was on my table.
What?
Well, you see... It startled me when that young lad collapsed. So I stood up. That must have been when it fell over. The vase on my table, I mean. The vase on your table? Haha. Yes, it was on my table. And that's how my groin came to be completely soaked.
You sure it's not just because you're old?
Thank you, Mr. Kudo. You've certainly earned your kudos for today. I'd like to ask a question now. Have I been any use at all? Perhaps that's something you should reflect on yourself, Mr. Kudo. Wait a minute. If that's the case, there's more. I've got more to say. Oh, yes, I remember something else. Bailiff, escort the witness out of the courtroom. Wait, listen to me. Well, we seem to have been considerably sidetracked. I'm still not in a position to deliver a verdict. The defendant has not been positively identified as the waitress in question. Additionally, there are two disparities in the testimony we've heard thus far.
The mark on the coffee cup that the victim supposedly drank from with his left hand, and the earpiece which was inserted into his left ear, out of which he couldn't hear.
Wow, Nick, you did it!
I therefore require both the defense and the prosecution to further investigate the facts.
Yes, Your Honor.
There's one more thing before I recall today's session to an end.
One more thing, Your Honor?
The witness we just heard from. He's most insistent that his testimony should be of use. So he's summarized it accordingly into this statement.
Okay.
You may each have a copy of it if you wish.
Whatever. The prosecution doesn't need props like that.
Godot's really mad, huh?
Yeah, I would be too.
Very well. Here you are then, Mr. Wright. There are 3 copies. My own, yours, and Mr. Godot's.
Yes, Your Honor.
When the incident occurred, I broke the vase at my seat. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry? This isn't a piece of testimony. More like a 5-year-old's apology.
What the heck are we supposed to do with 3 copies?
That is all. This court is adjourned.
Well, took a bit to get my vocal cords warmed up, but I think I fared better than I did last episode. But if you enjoyed this video, then no further actions required on your part, and we'll see you at the next investigation.